BMW Motorcycle Owners of America present the Short Wheelbase Podcast. With members in all 50 states, Canada, and across the globe, the BMW MOA invites you to ride inspired. Learn more about membership benefits, including roadside assistance, tire hazard protection, and more at bmwmoa.org. The Short Wheelbase Podcast is also brought to you by Boxer 2 Valve, supplier of quality OEM and aftermarket parts and specialty tools, and by Air Support BMW, offering premium driveline rebuilding and performance enhancements for your air-cooled BMW.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 34 of the Short Wheelbase Podcast. I am joined today with Fox Glover all the way from Arkansas, right? I have that right?
That's correct.
All right, cool. Well, folks, we are trying a little bit of a new format this week. This is something that we're going to start doing going forward. Not every episode, but every couple of episodes, we're going to insert one of these, what we're going to call show and tells. And this is an opportunity for you folks to hop on the line with me, talk to me about a specific bike you have. All the questions are going to be the same every time. So every episode kind of has the same theme. So if you're interested in joining me for this, reach out to me in the comments and we'll get you in the queue and get you lined up to do this. But like I said, we have Fox today here for the first episode. He's kind of our guinea pig. So if we kind of stumble through a couple of things here, give us a little, leeway on this one. We're kind of starting fresh here. But let's jump right into this, Fox. What model Airhead are we going to talk about today?
So the model Airhead we've got is a 1975 Nurburg Green R90/6. Beautiful color. I have to mention the color every time I talk about the bike. Gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. Cool. Yeah, I mean, the Nurburg Green has got to be, I don't know. I might have to say it's probably my favorite color that's not black on the BMW.
I tend to think so. Black is a really classic color for Beamers, especially pre-war and immediately post-war. But this was meant to be, as I understand it, a homage to the Nurburgring racetrack in Germany, and that just happens to be one of my favorite racetracks of all time. So it just happened to work out that I ended up with a Nurburgring bike. So I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Awesome. So tell me, how long have you owned this bike, and how did it kind of come into your life?
Not long. So this is kind of my dad and I's. I don't want to say project because we're not like actively working on it. We just, writing it, learning about it. So we've owned it for about a month now, as of today's date. And my dad has wanted a street bike for a while now. When he had me, he got out of riding bikes because, he wanted to be alive to see his kids grow up, essentially. A lot of people do that. And now that both my sister and I are out of the house, he's a lot more free to do stuff that he wants to do. So he wanted an Airhead, naturally, being a big part of the Airhead 247 podcast, and also knowing Darren as a friend who is, as long as I've known him, has constantly had at least 5 different BMW Airheads in his garage. So it's a really good excuse to end up with an Airhead because we already know somebody that has a BMW Airhead and knows basically everything that we need to know about an Airhead. So, if we have a problem, we can talk to him about it. And yeah, it's been really fun learning about the bike, even over the past month that we've had it. We don't know everything. Obviously, we're not experts, but it's been really fun and interesting to learn about.
Cool. Yeah. For folks, just a little bit more context. Fox's dad, Jeff, he does a lot of the audio work on the Airhead 247 podcasts, and there's actually going to be an interview with him on the audio version of the podcast as well. So keep your eye out for that. We're kind of linking these two together a bit. Moving on to the next question here. You mentioned that you've had it for about a month. So this question is kind of obvious, but just to keep them rolling here, what condition was the bike when you got it? Like, what was the condition in when you got it?
pretty much exactly as you see it in the background. It's um not been restored or anything, but it's been a fairly well kept vintage bike. It has a few blemishes on the paint. When we got it, the seat trim that goes around the back of the seat was missing. I actually just recently put that on. Um, and it had some really weird, funky aftermarket rubber grips on it that felt horrible and were installed with electrical tape on the handlebars. So I immediately ripped those off. And Darren actually gave me a set of original BMW Airhead grips to put on it. So that was one of the first things I did. But
Nice.
yeah, it's the person we got it from, Mr. Kal-El, has apparently owned BMWs for 50 years or so. He's always had a BMW in his garage, and he bought this one as a sort of project to buy, fix up a little bit and flip. And it's not like he's some kind of scummy bike flipper. You're not making money on that kind of thing anyway. He
Right.
ended up going through most of the bike and kind of refreshing all the rubberized components on it. He sent the gearbox off to be rebuilt. Um, so it ended up being a really, really good rider. Not a museum piece, but really good to ride around and not care too much about. And I really appreciate that as a first airhead for me.
Cool. So you mentioned, fixing the grips, fixing the trim ring on the seat. Which of those was the first thing that you fixed? What was the first project you took on?
Definitely the grips. The
The
grips
grips.
had to
Gotcha.
go. Yeah, because the way they were put on, the grips were just a little bit too big for the handlebars. So whoever did it, and I doubt it was Mr. Callow, whoever did it, um, put electrical tape around the handlebars to make the handlebars a little bit thicker so that they could slide the
Oh,
grips on
interesting.
and hold them in place. But the thing about electrical tape is as it gets old, the adhesive gets really greasy. So the
Oh
grips
yeah.
would just kind of spin around the handlebars as you were riding the bike down the road. So yeah, those had to go immediately. But I mean, other than that, and the seat trim, it hasn't needed much. I still need to tackle the starter. The starter on it is uh, it hangs up a little bit when you
Mhm.
turn the bike over. It still starts the bike fine, but I just need to either go in the starter and lubricate the Bendix gear. That's actually one of the things that Darren recommended. And if that doesn't work, just replace it. But the great thing about Airheads is they are remarkably easy to work on. Um,
Yeah.
Way easier to work on than anything even slightly more modern than that, or even other bikes of the time. Like uh I don't know, a good competitor for that would have been a Honda CB754 for the time. And a
Yeah.
CB754 is a much more complicated bike with four carburetors, uh, overhead camshafts to deal with, cam chains. You know, there's a lot more to deal with on that than this, which is just two cylinders. You know, everything's wide out, right out in the open, easy to get to. I really appreciate that. Um, as a
Yeah.
fairly mechanically minded person that takes care of their own stuff, I've always maintained my own cars and everything, and this is super easy to maintain.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. Awesome. Well, you actually answered like my next two questions on the list here. So,
Oops.
which was, no, you're totally fine. I love it. But yeah, I was just going to ask which things haven't you fixed yet and that you haven't gotten to, but yeah, it sounds like the starter work is what you would have said there. So,
Yeah,
moving,
I think that's about
moving
it.
beyond the mechanical stuff, couple of, fun questions here. Does it have a nickname? And if it does, is there a story behind its nickname?
There is no nickname for it yet.
Okay.
I I've only named one, no, actually two of the vehicles I own. I have a Miata, and that car's name is Nobu because that's Japanese for trusting. And I heard that in a video game. I thought it was great. And I have another. My first bike was a Honda XL100, and that bike's name is Jasmine. But this bike, I haven't come up with a name yet. I'm tempted. I'm tempted to name it something German. I don't know. I could be
Well, I
persuaded.
feel yeah, and I feel with nicknames for vehicles, sometimes you kind of have to live with it for a little bit, right? And this is a
Mhm.
new
Oh
bike;
yeah.
you've had it for a month. Sometimes you got to put some miles on it and really kind of figure out what its personality is. So,
Yeah, for
understandable that
sure.
you don't have a nickname for it yet, but if you do, let me know. I'd love to hear it. And
Oh yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
because you're friends with Darren and he has a similar bike, you can't call it the Green Machine because that's what he calls his.
No, no.
So
I've
you'll
ridden
have
the
to
Green
come up with
Machine
a
actually. Yeah.
nice. Yeah. So you'll have to come up with a maybe a better one. Maybe you can one up Darren on this one.
Hopefully, yeah. I'll think of something. I'll think of something.
Yeah. No
But
worries.
yeah,
No pressure right now.
yeah.
So, tell me what's the most annoying or finicky thing about owning this bike? Have you come up with anything that is like a repetitive thing that's just kind of nagging you or that you need to get used to, about this particular
Um,
bike?
yes. So full disclosure, I'm a fairly new street bike rider. I have ridden dirt bikes plenty before, but this is the first bike that I've actually gotten to ride on the street regularly. I got my motorcycle endorsement pretty much just for this bike. Um,
Nice.
and some of the things that are are bothering me about it might just be things that I'm getting used to as a new rider. But two things, the clutch on it. I think airheads are known for having particularly heavy clutches. It's a fairly heavy clutch, and this one is really touchy. It has a really tiny engagement point, and it's hard to get used to as a new rider.
Yeah.
I've also noticed that it's been getting better the more I've ridden it, and I've seen in forums that can be a problem with these
Yeah.
BMW dry clutches that they can, particularly the splines on the input shaft of the transmission can get they need a little bit of lubrication for the clutch to disengage and re-engage smoothly. And I think that might be happening here. I mean, it seems like it's getting better and I'm getting used to it. So and
Yeah.
the
It's
other thing,
probably a
yeah, sorry,
combination of both, right? Getting used to it and it's breaking in a little bit as you ride it.
I'm sure, yeah, and it might even actually have a new clutch in it. I forgot to look at we got a whole list of paperwork from the previous owner about what he did to it. It's big long list of stuff, and I think he may have even put a clutch in it. I can't quite remember.
Mm.
But another thing is the transmission. I'm used to riding like Japanese dirt bikes, and Japanese dirt bike transmissions are really sneaky. They're really easy to deal with. It's hard to miss a change on a dirt bike. This you have to be a lot more patient with your shifts. You have to shift it
Hmm.
like I, one guy said online that you have to shift these like a tractor. I think that's about right, really. It's
Sounds right.
yeah, in particular fifth gear. I have a problem uh getting it into fifth gear consistently every time. I usually end up having to getting a false neutral, having to pull back in the clutch and clicking it up one again. And it's never failed me. But it's not quite as um easy to deal with as some other bikes I've ridden. But
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks with what I've come to know in Airhead to feel like when I'm
yeah,
riding too. So,
yeah.
so on the flip side of that, that's kind of that was the annoying, finicky things. What's the most surprising and unexpectedly delightful thing about this bike that you've found so
Um,
far?
the engine. This Boxer Twin is magnificent. I
Yeah.
really appreciate just how torquey and flat the power curve is on it. There's
Hmm.
nothing surprising about the way it delivers power. You can let the clutch out and put it around at like 700 RPM in first gear, and it's like totally happy doing that. I don't want to do that a lot because that's not great for it, but it can do it. And I can't imagine that being the case for a more high-strung bike. Um, and the sound it makes. The thing about airheads is they don't make a lot of exhaust noise. It's a lot of intake noise because the intake snorkel is right above the engine, right beneath the gas tank. And when you get on it, just above 3,000 RPM, it has this wonderful bellow from the intake tubes. In that in that engine, and I love that. The engine is my favorite thing about the bike easily. It's
Very
such
cool.
a classic feeling, easy to ride engine. I love it. It's awesome.
Nice. Awesome. And then the last question I have, and this is another kind of fun one, is if this bike were to have a soundtrack, right? Like what kind of music, songs, or genres would be on that soundtrack?
Okay, so you sent me a list of your questions, and that was my very favorite one to answer because my dad and I are musicians. We have played together on stage before, usually playing jazz. Um, and I happen to think that a 1970s BMW Airhead fits the jazz genre quite well. So I was actually listening to music on Spotify just to try and figure out which song fit the bike the best. And as far as I can tell, this bike, if it had a soundtrack, it would be "Take Five" by the Dave Brubeck Quartet. If you've ever heard that song, that song's like all over Instagram, the internet right now. It's suave, it's easygoing, it's uh, intelligent. It's I love it. I think that's about the right song for this. So yeah, it's
Perfect.
awesome.
Yeah, I love that. I'm glad you
Yeah.
enjoyed that question because
Oh
I
yeah,
was like,
that
I
was
wonder if
great.
people are
I
going to
love
like,
that
as I was
question.
writing these questions, I'm like, I wonder how people are going to answer this one, but that was
Oh
perfect,
yeah,
man.
yeah. That was.
Cool. Well,
Mm.
that's the questions I have. Is there anything else about this bike that you wanted to share or tell us about before we kind of wrap up?
I really wanted to mention, um, uh, as a new rider, it's not just about this bike particularly, but as a new rider, I have really been appreciative of the community behind Airheads. Um, it's an interesting, kind of strange community of people that like BMW Airheads because BMW Airhead people, I've discovered, are not just BMW motorcycle people. The people that are
Nope.
into Airheads are not also into BMW motorcycles generally. Like I was talking to Darren about, you know, I asked him if he'd ever own an oil head, the boxer that replaced this, and he said no. No, they're
No.
too complicated. That's not his kind of bike. And there are a lot of people like that, and a lot of people that are really into the mechanics behind these bikes and maintaining them. And, you know, so because of that, you can find incredible amounts of information about how to fix these bikes and how to maintain them. Um, and I love that. That's one of the reasons I love owning a Miata, in fact, is because of the community around them. And
Right.
it's just the same kind of community around these bikes. And I had no idea that it would be like that before actually owning this one. So that's, yeah,
Awesome.
that's one of my favorite things about it.
Well, on behalf of the community, welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. We
Thank
hope
you.
that this is one of many airheads that you enjoy in your time on a motorcycle. So,
Oh, yeah.
Fox, thank you so much for joining me today and for taking the time to set up your camera outside with the bike in the background. That's
Oh, yeah.
what a perfect way to start out this new show and tell series that we're going to be doing.
You're very
Before
welcome.
I sign off, Fox, do you have anything else you want to say before we close?
Stay safe, guys. Ride safe.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Again, this is a new experiment we're trying. If you're interested in joining me for a chat about your bike, jump into the comments, find me on Instagram, email Darren, you know, smoke signals, whatever it takes, get in touch with me and we'll get you on the show and we can talk about your bike. Folks, don't forget to like and subscribe and we'll catch you next time. Ride safe.
Thanks for joining us on the Short Wheelbase podcast presented by the BMW Motorcycle Owners of America. To join the club, visit bmwmoa.org. You can find full-length episodes of the excerpts heard here on the Airhead 247 podcast. The Short Wheelbase podcast is produced and edited by Nick Malozzi. Audio segments by Jeff Glover. You can check in with Nick at Airhead Misfits on Instagram.